Hi there, welcome back for chapter 40. Jack landed hard on the sand beneath the waves, rolled to his side, and came up with the trident aimed at, well, nothing. There was no one there. It's a pity you've never learned to use this properly, a deep male voice said from behind him. Jack pivoted off the trident, throwing himself forward just as something metallic rang out and hit his weapon. He pulled the trident from the sand as he landed, glancing around frantically, but still not seeing anything. I should have killed you when I had the chance, the Sea King yelled from Jack's side, and again Jack threw himself out of the way of his own sword. The blade disappeared and then reappeared on his other side, striking out again, barely giving Jack any time to dodge. You need to listen to me, Jack tried to shout, but something kicked him in the chest and he flew backward, landing in a wave. He rolled into the water, coming up a bit deeper in the ocean, glancing around frantically for the merman. You and your queen think you can tell me what I need to do, the Sea King yelled, and something hard splashed in the water to Jack's right. Jack threw his gaze down in the water and then back up at nothing, and suddenly he knew what to do. As the waves came in, they separated around the two invisible legs. The glowing sword appeared right above those legs, slashing out at him, but Jack was ready, driving his trident up to block. The legs disappeared from the water, but Jack felt the air move above him, and he drove the blunt end of the trident up, catching the invisible Sea King in the stomach. The king landed hard, and the sword slashed out again, and Jack dodged, barely escaping its deadly blade. Here's where I end your pathetic little story, the king said from right behind Jack. The sword came down just as Jack thrust his trident up behind him, capturing the sword in its tines. He twirled the trident, ripping the sword from the Sea King's grasp, then kicked backwards, his foot hitting something hard and sending it flying, even as his sword fell from the air into his hand. As the Sea King landed, fully visible now, Jack held the sword to the Sea King's chest, trying to hide how fast his heart was beating. No one ends my story but me, he said, and then cursed silently at how stupid that sounded. Despite being an idiot, now that the sword was back in his hand, Jack felt stronger, faster, more energetic, and more aware of everything. What was the sword doing to him? Had the sword been changing him this entire time without him even realizing it? And why didn't that scare him more? Listen to me, Jack said again to the Sea King. Your daughter, she's somewhere out here. No one kidnapped her. She came with us to help save the fairy queens. Lies, the king yelled. Why would I lie? Jack shouted back, his face exploding with heat as something in him just snapped. He growled in frustration and had to fight the urge to just start punching the idiot merman until he listened to reason. The Wicked Queen wants you up here. She wants you on land where you're weaker. That's why she sent an army here, to wipe you out. The Sea King started to say something, but Jack yelled over him. No, you don't get to talk anymore. You know why your daughter left the first time. Because she was in love with a human. No one made her come up here. The Sea Witch didn't convince her. She wanted to be with a human. She wanted it. Not humanity. Not the people in the castle. Her. And now you're about to lose her again because you're too stupid to know she's making her own choices. The Sea King's eyes burned white and his face twisted up into a sneer. The water around him began to boil and Jack had to leap backward to avoid getting burned. Maybe he'd pushed it a little too much. You, the Sea King said, the water rising to lift the king to a standing position. The trident Jack had used glowing white hot as well, somehow in the king's hand, though he'd never reached for it. You! No, your highness, Jack told him, noticing something right over the Sea King's shoulder. Her. The most amazing voice began to sound from beneath the waves, harmonizing with the sounds of battle on the shore. The song was familiar, but the piper's notes, as magical as they were, couldn't compete with the voice of the little mermaid princess. Megan, the Sea King said, the rage draining from his face. What? What are you singing? It's Fairy Queen magic, Jack told him, lowering his sword. She learned it from the Sea Witch, and she's using it to take us to the fairy homelands. Finally, May said, as she, the pirate monkey, and Philip arrived and jumped off their creature. The monster, now freed from the humans at its reins, leapt for Philip, but the prince easily grabbed the reins and looped the beast's front and back paws together in midair, crashing it into the ground without really hurting it. The song grew louder, and Jack could see Megan swimming just beneath the waves as the world began to swirl around them. This was it. They were finally going back. Megan, the Sea King said, you would leave me again? I wouldn't worry about that, growled the voice a moment before the wolf, the size of a horse, slammed into the Sea King from behind. The wolf's teeth latched onto the Sea King's throat and bit down hard. "No!" Jack shouted, but too far away. "The wolf is mine!" Bluebeard roared, leaping into the fray. And just like that, the armies of mermen and goblins, the beach, the ocean, and the castle all swirled away into nothingness. Jack, May, Philip, Megan, Bluebeard, the Sea King, and the Wolf King all dropped to the ground hard, just feet away from the largest, thorniest vines Jack had ever seen. And there, waiting with a smug smile for them all, was Leanne. "Oh, so close," she said, her smile getting wider. "But close only counts in horseshoes and fire and dragonfire." And with that, Jack looked up to see a flight of red, black, and green dragons off in the distance, heading straight to the fairy homelands. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.